Hello, everybody. It's Anna Crichton here, your resident psychologist, broadcasting from Churros Head in Australia. 3 brains in one. If you thought you just had one brain, no, my dear, we all have 3 brains in one, and they don't always work well together. Why am I saying that? Haven't we survived as a human species for all this time? Yes, your brain is designed to make us survive, not thrive. Let me repeat this. The number one job for our brain is to help us survive. Thriving is not that important. What does it mean to us? It means that our brain or brains scan for danger at all times. You may not be aware of it because it usually happens on the subconscious level, but there's constant scanning for danger. And this accounts for so much stress and anxiety. We basically live in fear. I'm going to share some slides with you to explain better what's happening. No, this is not it. Here we are. And we are going to share this screen. Here we are. Know your brains. Why is it important that we know our brain or brains so we can actually help them work better together? Now, the 3 brains in one are, you see the red part here. This is called the reptilian brain, and also the brain stem underneath. So anything here that's red, and the cerebellum slightly to the right, and the brain stem are the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain we share with other species on this earth. This was the very first brain that developed, and it takes care of functions that are automatic functions, meaning we don't have to think about them, we don't have to control them. And that includes blood circulation, that includes breathing, all those functions that are absolutely essential to sustain life that are outside our conscious control. Imagine if we had to think about controlling our breathing at all times. It would be quite ridiculous. We wouldn't survive 5 minutes. There are so many other things to think about. So this is the reptilian brain. The next one above it is what we call the emotional or impulsive brain. And why is it important? It's important because it contains the survival mechanism. I'll explain it better in the next slide, but this is the part of brain that takes care of fight, flight, or freeze survival mechanism. You probably have heard when in danger, this part of the brain immediately alerts us, and it makes us prepare, even before we think, prepare to handle the danger, either to run away or to fight it, or we freeze, which is also of survival value, because imagine when we lived in cave times and we left the cave alone and we saw a wild animal that was bigger and stronger and faster than us, we would freeze automatically. Why would we do that? Because any movement would attract the animal's attention. So freeze is of survival value. The last layer of the brain, that's the newest one, is called neocortex, the new brain. And this is the thinking brain. And especially important is what we call the prefrontal cortex, that part of the brain that's right behind your forehead. This is the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of your brain, of your life. This is where you plan, organize, monitor, scheme. Extremely important. Now let me take you to our next slide. This slide comes from Dr. Peter Russo's animation, How the Brain Develops. If you are interested in purchasing this animation, I will give you the details. I don't have any financial incentive, but it's a very, very useful resource to have for both providers of service and for clients to the service. Now you see, I mentioned here amygdala. He calls it the ignition switch. The ignition switch lies between the reptilian brain and the impulsive brain. The red part is the impulsive brain or the limbic system. The job of the amygdala is to constantly scan for danger, danger from outside of your person and the danger from inside, the memories of danger, the thoughts of danger, the anticipation. Amygdala is called amygdala because that in Latin means almond. And that almond, like I say, is always on, always scanning, always searching for danger. Now, it's not a logical part of your brain, so anything can make it work even faster, can make it really go into alarm mode, anything at all. I have clients who are on compensation, for example, and who, when they walk up to their letterbox and see a letter with the logo of the insurance company, go into an absolute panic mode because that amygdala sees that letter as a complete threat to the person's life. So the threat could be of physical nature or psychological nature, something that most of us would ignore. In the case of that person, it's the end of life as she or he knows it. So what happens when amygdala flares up and alerts and alarms the whole system? What happens is that we cannot think. You see that green part? That's the prefrontal lobe. That's the smart brain. When amygdala and the impulsive brain are on, and the reptilian brain, this whole system, this absolute core of your brain, when that flares up, when that's activated to an nth degree, we lose contact with the smart brain, which means we cannot think. We cannot think, we cannot logically approach the danger situation. The amygdala, this whole inner system, flares up much faster than we can think. This activation takes place in a nanosecond, and it's only a few seconds later, possibly, that the smart brain will get some signal. Okay, so you cannot talk yourself out of feeling agitated and alarmed. Not at first, not for a very long few seconds and sometimes a few minutes. In most cases, we lose contact with our language capacity. When we feel in danger, when we are activated here in the inner part of the brain, we cannot find words to express our angst, to express our dismay, our distress. Have you ever come across that? You cannot find words. And that's natural because you just haven't got the contact with the smart brain. All the action loops inside the impulsive and the reptilian brain. What can we do to help ourselves to come out of that agitation? We need to do three things. One is to soothe that ignition switch or the amygdala. Otherwise, it just keeps on and on and on and on, and it continues agitating the whole system. We have to soothe that amygdala. We have to get rid of or metabolize the stress hormones that have been released instantly when the amygdala decided the situation was dangerous. And we have to establish contact with the smart brain. Now it all happens simultaneously. Let me just see if there's another slide. Okay, this slide here, also from another program that I delivered over Christmas, it summarizes again what happens when the amygdala is on, when the survival mechanism is on. When amygdala is on, the smart brain is off. Now, how does it feel physiologically when you are alarmed? There's the rapid heartbeat, rapid, shallow breathing. Your hands feel cold and clammy. Your muscles are tight. You are sweating. You will end up with indigestion. Your mouth is dry. Now, are these symptoms useless? No, they are very, very useful in a real danger situation because these symptoms prepare you to fight or flight. Okay, we won't go into the benefits of those symptoms today. That will be for another mini webinar. Let me just get to smart brain. Smart brain is off. You can't think. You can't find words to express your distress. Your mind is racing. You can't concentrate. You are on automatic pilot and your thoughts are looping. All this is of survival value. The system has decided to deal with danger before you can actually think about it, ponder over it, control it. That would be a sheer waste of time. So your smart brain is off. Now, the problem, of course, is when there is no real danger, when your alarm system has overreacted. I have passed over the rewiring of the brain. I'll talk about this slide one day when I talk about how habits are formed. For example, the habit of overreacting to the so-called danger. Let's leave this off right now. Let's go to the next one. You see, in the old days, psychology advised people to use their smart brain to overcome those symptoms of panic, of anxiety, of distress. Well, as you remember, from 2-3 minutes ago, you have no contact with the smart brain. How can you use smart thinking to soothe your physiology? You cannot. Well, we have developed the so-called bottom-up approach to helping people. Bottom-up approach. What does it mean? It means that you have to soothe your physiology, the core two brains, the reptilian brain and the smart brain, the reptilian and the impulsive brain, in order to regain access to the smart brain. How do you deactivate the alarm center, the amygdala? You basically do it in a very simple way, through learning to regulate your breathing. There are many, many ways of regulating your breathing, and yoga teaches and meditation teachers teach us how to regulate the breathing. And now you can see the wisdom of those approaches. What yoga and meditation teach us is actually to soothe that physiology. I won't get into what exactly happens physiologically, but just trust me, by regulating your breathing, you will deactivate the alarm center. You don't have to attend to yoga, you don't have to do meditation, just start learning to breathe a bit slower. See if you can practice breathing between 6 and 12 breaths per minute. Practice this before you get into a panic situation. You can practice this at your desk. You can take a mini holiday, time yourself for just 1 minute and see how many times you breathe. And the next minute, the next time, see if you can slow down your breathing. Try not to gasp, not to take too much air in, because you could get a little bit dizzy. Just focus on long exhales, and that will help you slow down your breathing. The next step in our recovery action after we've deactivated the alarm is to try and get rid of the stress hormones or the death hormones like cortisol, adrenaline. Again, they are useful in a danger situation, but not in everyday life, not when the amygdala trips off for practically no reason at all. How do we get rid of the stress hormones? Well, drink a lot of water, good quality water. So you pee it out and you sweat it out. Run up and down the stairs if you are stuck in an office. Just try to metabolize those hormones. You can also then try to bump up good hormones, but perhaps we can talk about it on another occasion. We have basically covered quite a lot of ground today, and I'm trying not to take up too much of your time. These are supposed to be mini webinars. I have embedded this in my website, and I have also connected this to my Facebook. Now, you are very welcome to visit my website, which is https stresslessnow.net. Let me see if I can actually print it here. There's my tag, up back to front, and we will do https stresslessnow.net/blog. And it doesn't always show up, but let's see if it will now by switching it off and switching it on. I'll have to have another mini webinar or a series of mini webinars how to use Hangout on Air if you are interested, and how to use the various free available resources to have some presence on the internet. I thank you for listening, for being here with me today, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.